everybody, welcome back into Cherry Picking. Week 20 for the fantasy hockey season, getting closer and closer to the playoffs and that trade deadline. That fantasy hockey trade deadline is generally around the end of February, depending on your league settings, but that is, I think, the standard one that they give you, at least on Yahoo leagues. So this week, a ton of games again, like this past week, week 19, ton of teams playing 4 games, those teams being the Coyotes, Sabres, the Stars, Oilers, Kings, Wild, Senators, Penguins, Sharks, Capitals, and the Winnipeg Jets. So if you have players on any of those teams, you're set up for a pretty solid week in terms of volume. A lot of the players that we will be adding will be from teams that have 4 games this week as well. And then just 3 teams have 2 games this upcoming week, and that's the Rangers, the Flames, and the Blackhawks. Let's get into this week's must-add. All right, so the first guy we're going to be adding, 51% rostered for those guys in the 10, 12-man leagues, maybe 14-team leagues. You'll be able to pick up Boone Jenner on the Columbus Blue Jackets, has that center and left wing capabilities. The Blue Jackets play 3 games this week against the Rangers, the Hurricanes, and the Blackhawks. Jenner's actually been very solid. Obviously hasn't played the entire season, missed some time due to injury, but still some pretty solid numbers there as well. Obviously, the Blue Jackets went through a pretty long dry spell of where their offense was shit. It's certainly looked a lot better recently, and I think a lot to say that is to and for Boone Jenner. Since February 9th, Jenner's second in the NHL in expected goals for, has 8 points in 5 games as well, or his last 5 games, excuse me. Columbus has actually been pretty solid as of late. You know, they're relatively competitive in terms of shot attempt share against the Kings. The Kings has had some really good individual performances, being by Quinton Byfield again in that game, and then they beat the Ducks very handedly, 7-4. A ton of players scoring goals and getting points in that one. Johnny Gaudreau actually looked pretty solid in that game as well, but Boone Jenner has been their biggest creator of offense, so might as well ride the hot hand. And, you know, coming up, there's not a ton of players like this with Boone Jenner left on your waiver wire now that we're getting closer to the trade deadline, closer to the playoffs. Most of these guys will be rostered, but one guy, one kind of hidden gem right now, he's playing on that first line with Jack Roslovic and Johnny Gaudreau, first power play as well. It's what you want from your star centers, and there's really not too many, as I mentioned, at 50% rostered that have all those capabilities. Wins a decent amount of face-offs. He's relatively physical as well, can help you out in the hits department too. So Boone Jenner, a guy whose shot volume will really help you out. Try to add him this week. All right, the next guy we're going to be adding is Gabriel Vilardi on the Winnipeg Jets. 35% rostered right now, has that center and right wing capabilities. Pretty solid season. He's gone through stretches where he's been pretty inconsistent, but you know, a month like December where he proved to be very consistent is why we're going to be looking to pick up Gabriel Vilardi again. In December, he had 14 points and 7 goals. He's recently been in, or before was recent in a slump recently, from January 20th to February 14th, but the entire Jets offense was kind of in a slump at that point. They seem to have figured out since then. He has 8 points in his last 5 games played. It doesn't really seem like Rick Bowness will be taking Gabriel Vilardi off of that top line with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor as well. So I think we're going to see maybe a Gabriel Vilardi type December for the rest of the season. You know, I could see him being a point per game for the rest of the season, playing on that top line, a Jets team that, as I mentioned, were kind of slumping, but seemed they have figured it out. Their shooting percentage is back up to their kind of season average if you're looking at their last couple games. So Gabriel Vilardi, one of 2 Jets I'd actually be adding this week. One of the biggest reasons is they do play 4 games. All right, so the other Winnipeg Jet we're going to add is Sean Monahan, playing that center position, obviously just acquired from the Montreal Canadiens for his first-round pick, closer to the All-Star break, but he's been fantastic since being a Winnipeg Jet as well. Again, as I mentioned about Gabriel Vilardi, the Jets play 4 games this week against the Blues, the Stars, the Hurricanes, and the Sabres. So definitely 2 relatively easy matchups there for the Winnipeg Jets, but obviously against the Canes and Stars might tend to be a little bit difficult. But still, these guys play so much that if the Jets are scoring, these guys are going to be the guys getting the points and scoring goals. Monahan being one of the biggest factors for the Jets recently. 5 goals in his last 3 games played, including a hat trick against the Calgary Flames in the first period. They ended up losing that game 6-3. But a lot of those goals is where Sean Monahan has scored a bulk of his goals this season, and why he's so volatile as he scores in front of the net on tips, on the power play. So if the Jets continue to get power plays and he continues to be in front of the net, he'll continue to have obviously some pretty solid some pretty solid starts here. So playing on that second line with Cole Perfetti and Nick Ehlers, obviously, as I mentioned, first power play, he just sits in front of that net and tries to tip and kind of get in the way of the opponent's goaltenders. Third on the team in expected goals for over the last 5 games played, and actually leads the team in faceoff wins since joining the Winnipeg Jets as well at a 58% rate. So Rick Bowness will not be moving him off the circle at any point any point soon. So definitely look to add Sean Monahan this week. All right, so one of 2 defensemen we're going to be adding this week is Torey Krug on the St. Louis Blues. Now, this could be a streamer for the week or a guy that you can kind of hold on for the rest of the season because he has proven to have been pretty solid, especially in terms of getting assists. But the Blues play 3 games against the Oilers, the Jets, and the Wild. And someone who's really just been contributing a lot in the month of February. He's playing at least 23 minutes a game. He had 5 assists in a start and a game against the Montreal Canadiens as well, where the Blues won 7-2. He's playing on that first power play, which has actually been very good as of late. The last 10 games, the Blues have 12 power play goals. Torey Krug contributing in that with 9 power play points on the season as well. Top 5 in high danger chances created amongst defensemen over the last 5 games played as well, and this 4 points in his last 5 games played. So a guy who's really contributing in all factors right now, especially in the points part of it, if you're looking for a defenseman like that. So I definitely try to add Torey Krug if you can this week and even for the rest of the season. All right, one guy that I'm honestly probably a little late on, but you could still add him considering looking at his roster percentage, and that's Shane Pinto on the Ottawa Senators. So since returning from his suspension, he's played 13 games. He has 10 points, 4 goals, 39 shots on goal, and shooting percentage of about 10. He's playing around 18 to 17 minutes per game as well. The 4 games this week that the Sens have: Capitals, Preds, Coyotes, and Flyers. So definitely some plus matchups there. And Shane Pinto has actually been great since coming back. He's almost creating as much offense as Brady Tkachuk since returning, which is a lot. They're like neck and neck in scoring chances for over the 7 games or over the last 7 games as well. Just seeing Pinto create so much offense on the second line that he has been playing on has been fantastic for the Ottawa Senators as well. You look at his last 7 games played, second on the team in expected goals for, has 2 goals and 4 assists as well. I honestly think he could be a really good addition to your team for the rest of the season because I think Ottawa still has a lot to offer offensively. I think we're finally seeing them kind of get going here. We saw it a little bit before the All-Star break, and now we're seeing it turn into big wins after the All-Star break. One of those bigger wins obviously coming against the Dallas Stars, where honestly they played very well. It wasn't even Dallas out shooting them in a really good Forsberg or Korpisalo kind of performance. The Sens played very solid, controlled a lot of the possession for the good chunk of the game as well. And the Sens also, in terms of when I say they have a lot to offer, they do, because they have 28 games left on the season, which is tied for the most amongst teams. They had a relatively short and I would say less volume in that first half of the season, playing fewer games than a lot of the other NHL teams. So that's obviously a plus to have, as well as you want to have a center that you're going to be able to hold on to and keep until the playoffs. Okay, and the defenseman we're going to be adding this week that is 1% rostered is Henri Jokiharju on the Buffalo Sabres. So the Sabres play 4 games this week against the Panthers, the Lightning, the Golden Knights, and the Jets. Not the easiest schedule, but nonetheless, it is 4 games. And Jokiharju has really filled in for the role with Owen Power sideline and has been fantastic. And it seems like Owen Power will at least be out for probably the next week. So all these 4 games that the Sabres have, because he just went on IR on Monday on February 19th. So Henri Jokiharju should stay on that top pair with Rasmus Dahlin. He's been very effective since being on that top pair with Dahlin as well. Last 5 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, averaging about 24 minutes of ice time as well. There's really not too many defensemen playing 24 minutes that are 1% rostered, so that's obviously a huge plus and a good find right now if you need a streamer defenseman with all the different injuries that are going on, obviously. He has the second best plus-minus on the team on the season as well. So Don Granato really has no choice but to keep him out on the ice, even when Owen Power does come back. So he's been rolling recently, scored the OT winner in a win over Minnesota last week as well, and has a point in 3 straight games. This is definitely, I think, the sneakiest or best streamer you can have on defense this week. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you thought of Must Add for Week 20 of the fantasy hockey season. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.